Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the new season, Podcasters Unleashed. A lot of things has changed. This new season is very promising. We're going to have great guests ahead on this season. A lot of things has changed. Unfortunately, Simon left us for health issue reasons, and Matilda is coming back to the next season too. And this season, we're going to talk about investment, what's happening around the world, inflation, and how we can have an opportunity to invest during this recession. So, before talking about inflation and how to hedge out from the inflation today, I want to reintroduce my co host. Victor, go ahead.
Yes, Hala, thank you very much. This is going to be an exciting season because of the amazing guests that we'll be having that will be coming to like talk on specific issues. Yeah, so I'm Victor Osio. I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, where I help African Caribbean professionals who are in the 9 to 5 to move towards a lifestyle of freedom. Over to you, Carla.
Hey everyone, I'm Carla. I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is all about education and well-being. Back to you, Howler.
Yes, and I'm the host of the podcast Women Stories, where I share stories from women who rose above different challenges. It's under construction under the moment, but tune in for a new episode. So today we're going to talk about the living crisis, the prices that are increasing, and also how we could diversify our income and how what are we experiencing right now. It's very difficult for a lot of people, especially for middle class and for the lower middle class and for poor people. And we have seen, for example, in Europe, there are spiraling living costs that are hurting all the European countries. And also, the bank had to hike interest rates to control the economic mess. I mean, food prices are accelerated, and we've seen also for the war, Russian invasion to Ukraine, we have seen the prices and energy commodities jumped considerably, and reflecting the global role of the affected countries. Even like in France, we can't find mustard because of the war. There are a lot of products. I mean, food shortages in the supermarket. So that is really interesting to understand what is happening because uh, the few months I was very um, I don't know how to say that, but it just you can't understand everything. You have a lot of information on the internet. They say Russian war. They say the economy after pandemic, and you have a lot of reasons for what is happening. So let's start with you, Carla, about uh, talk about inflation and what does it mean to you?
Well, basically, it means you get less for your money. So the value of the money is continually going down in terms of what you can buy with it. And if we look around the world at how much you can buy bread, for example, how much it costs of your currency, how much it costs in terms of the percentage of your income, then you can begin to understand inflation. It sounds complicated, but it is basically meaning that over time the price of things is going up steadily, but the value of the money is not. It's going down. So you're getting less and less for your money. And I think we've got an example actually.
Yeah.
For example, here, a movie ticket in 1980 cost an average of 289. By 2019, the average price of a movie ticket had risen to £9, $9.16.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest issues that people are facing now is that not only is there inflation, as in the money isn't buying as much, but also the price of things in relation to the income. I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. So the percentage of a person's income that is being spent on different items is also something important. But I know we'll probably talk about that a bit much later.
Yeah. And actually, it's interesting you mentioned this example of the movie price ticket. It reminds me of the Netflix prices. They have increased their prices, and a lot of people just got out from their Netflix membership. Yes, Victor, I want to know more about if you had history with inflation. Maybe you have faced that within your family in the last 10 years. How did you dealt with that?
Yeah, currently, I think it was a very, very good example that Kyla gave because we're getting less for our money now. And I just feel that moving forward, how we're going to deal with the no, let me just take energy, for example,
Mm.
um, electricity, for example. We just got
We lost your voice.
okay, we just got a new bill today explaining what is going to happen in the next couple of months regards the new electricity tariff, and we've been charged, God knows, thousands of pounds extra for having the same amount of usage.
Mm.
So there's nothing different. Or is it because I'm using a USB fan, I should be charged extra for that, or what? So we're earning almost the same while prices are going up. They say it's what affects inflation? Supply shortages. Are we having is
Mm.
electricity generation not constant? Are we getting supply from somewhere else? If you tell me about fuel, if you tell me about what we get, what is being imported into the United Kingdom, then I could understand that, but not what is being generated here. It is going to be challenging moving forward into the new year.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to have a difficult winter?
Yeah, I think we are going to have a difficult winter because what's actually going on right now is the calm before the storm. And officially I think we are going into recession next year. The UK is going to recession next year, and other parts of the world are already in recession. So I think it's going to be a difficult winter. Winter is coming.
Yes, it is.
Winter is coming.
Um, so how is it the situation now? I think we're talking about European countries, and I think they, even if the winter, I mean, even if the situation is hard, we can't imagine how it's harder for Africa, especially in, I mean, in North Africa and in East Africa too. So how do you think the situation is going in Nigeria?
I think it might turn out to be good at the end of the day because we Nigeria is a country that is heavily dependent on imports.
Mm,
So and imagine flour, wheat from Ukraine. It is
yeah.
just the price of bread now is like something else. Wedding cakes, normal cakes, it's just expensive to get. And what's it called? There's this saying in Nigeria that says that people that manufacture biscuits, so they usually have maybe like five discs of biscuits inside. They don't complain. They just take one out of it, and four they sell the four. They don't complain. So and the kids they buy it like that. So the kids when they open the biscuit, oh yummy yummy yummy. But the thing is, when we start seeing how dependent we are of
Mm,
basic commodities like wheat, now the government is looking into like really, really recession and investing into cassava to produce bread and supplement wheat
mm.
and even grow our own. You guys, so I believe at the end of the day, it may turn out to be good. The inflation may turn out to be something good. All these shortages may turn out to be something that we need to look into ourselves and start showing our own creativity on how to be more self-sustaining.
Yes, it's interesting what you said because even in the Middle East, in Egypt, and in the part of North Africa, you see a lot of countries they were depending on Ukraine, and now the prices are rising for bread too. For example, when we take Lebanon situation, we have the they have the financial crisis there, and they can't import Nutella and all the other um, um, global food that we know. So they are now trying to produce their local food, which is interesting because it brings also new opportunities, and it's very creative to um, produce something from your land instead of importing it outside. So that is interesting. And let's get back to the UK because I was there on March, and what I've um, noticed in UK, if you want to go anywhere, you need to pay with cash. You can't pay with. You need to pay with credit card. Sorry, you can't pay with cash anymore. And now we're seeing people are reversing this idea, and in UK they are trying to get the cash from the bank because they feel like it's the government is controlling their money during to the inflation that's happening now. So what do you think, guys, about it?
I think it depends who you ask. Really, the situation in the UK is always divided. It's just the nature, very much like the US. So some people will agree and some will disagree on every topic. But I think what's definitely clear here is that certain things are becoming a luxury, namely energy is becoming a luxury item, and it looks like a reordering or a restructuring not only of the society here in the UK, but in terms of our place in the world, because now there are so many people that can't afford what used to be seen as a basic thing before, such as electricity, that was seen as a right here in the UK, fuel and things like that. And like Victor was saying, even the food, what we will consider a staple food is going to change. So bread was seen as something that everyone could afford, or flour was something that everyone could afford, and it was the go-to all over the world. But now it looks like it's becoming a luxury item. So that's quite interesting to see. But one of the things I've noticed is the change. I've been doing a lot of work over the last year, going on to a year and a half, with a local baby bank, which is similar to a food bank, but it provides resources for parents of children from 0 to 3. So we provide everything from baby milk right up to pushchairs and cots for free. And we collect them from the community, and then we redistribute them to people in need. And that's gone from being something that was just a handful of people were using it in the community to a lot of families every month. And we're seeing a change in the type of families that would use it. So middle to upper class families that had previously would buy lots of luxury items for their babies, do a whole nursery, and buy everything new. Now they come into the baby bank and getting things secondhand, and they're requesting things. And we also see a massive increase in people requesting basic things for babies like nappies and wipes, which used to be part of the family shop, the weekly shop. They would just stick nappies in. Yeah, we've given away hundreds of packets of nappies already this year, and we're only halfway or just over halfway through the year. So that's been quite sad to see. But what we've heard from people as well is that they've faced the literal choice between heating their house and giving food to their older children, or buying nappies for a baby, which isn't the families that you think it is, that turn into these services. So I think when you're involved in something like that on the ground on a regular basis, you see how much the country's changed, and how much it's shifting globally, who can afford things and who can't afford things, but also the dilemmas that it puts people in. For example, if you work online, which I do, you don't have a choice when it comes to paying the fuel bill, unless you can find somewhere local, reliable to go and use the internet, because otherwise you're going to lose your source of income if you work online. So I think there's just so much going on here in the UK at the moment, and the whole debate around cash versus card and all that, I think it's going to be going on for a long time. But in the end, it will be the government that decides whether or not cash or card rules, and who has access to things and who doesn't. It's very interesting times.
Yeah, actually remind me previous month, actually, I had electricity shortages. One day I didn't have really electricity and it was really tough. And we really don't know the reason. We called the company and they didn't give us a reason for it. And I have seen articles the government are declaring to um, reduce energy consumption in the houses. So yeah, I feel it's nice to bring awareness to people on what is happening, but also it's important to see what are the alternative that we have
Yeah,
because
people are voluntarily going into pay as you go just to charge their meter, just to charge gas, just to charge
mm,
electricity right now because they can actually control what they
uh,
actually use. So
yeah,
before it used to be you need to be in debt and they need to like actually come in and force change your meter. But now people are calling up, boy, come because I want to be able to charge maybe £20 and control the way
okay.
I use my £20.
Mm,
Not at the end of the month, you bring some
yeah.
estimated bill and tell me, whoa, it's £90. No. I want when I budget £20 or I budget £30, I
Mm,
charge £30. I know I'll be using X amount every day. This light turns off. People will be turning off their freezers, deep freezers, and all kind of stuff.
mm,
Washing machine, all the washing will be done at midnight or on the weekends. No emergency washing. Ovens are going to be like turned off. So see, it is going to be crazy. And the Bank of England has actually warned that we'll be going into recession in 2023. So this is just like the GDP fell below about 0.1%. So it is going to get a little bit crazier or a little bit
mm,
challenging. So it's time for us to like start thinking of ways to be more crafty with our income.
yes. That's interesting. I want to get back to Carla's story about giving back the food and the accessory supplies to people who are in need. And I was thinking about the inflation because this is the reason why we are getting the middle class poorer. Do you think that inflation can create a big wealth gap in this upcoming month?
Yeah, I think it always does. It always contributes to the wealth gap. And I don't think that's going to change. It's probably just going to accelerate the number of people that drop from that middle class into the lower class financially is going to be happening at a much faster rate than it used to happen before. Because of the choices that I was describing, what people have to choose between,
Mm,
but also the inability for people to remain in that middle class by doing things that, because the whole concept was that you would use your resources at a working class level to invest in things that would allow you to jump to the middle tier, such as property, or to invest in your children, giving them certain clubs and hobbies and things that would help them to climb the social ladder, so that in the next generation maybe they would have better jobs. So for example, you may be working class, your husband working class, but by investing your money wisely, by buying a house in a nice neighborhood, you could then make your children be
yeah.
born middle class, and then theoretically that by working hard in the middle classes as doctors, lawyers, whatever, they would then be able to invest their money and climb to the upper class. But that opportunity isn't there for as many people now. So if you're facing a £4,000 or £5,000 fuel bill, which is what we've been told is coming in the UK this year, the cap is around £4,000 or £5,000, isn't it, Victor? Now,
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
yeah. So if, for example, you're working class, you're making 20, 22, 23,000 a year. That 5,000 previously may have gone to save for a deposit for a house. It may have gone to invest
Mm,
in opportunities for your children to make them more intelligent, for whatever, well-being money. You know, there's such a
mm,
thing as a well-being fund. Um, just things that make you feel better and help you to stay in the game, like holidays, like days out, like certain types of food, you know, families are going to be facing problems as to whether or not they can do that, and some definitely won't be able to because they have to pay fuel bills that are extortionate. You know, you're talking about more than a third of their income. And that's not even counting housing costs, which are also very high. We know if you want to be financially stable, you shouldn't really spend more than a third of your income on your housing, because then you're not left with much else to work with. But imagine if you're spending more than a third on your housing and more than a third on energy, what are you going to do? The other third is going to be really stretched thin, isn't it? And there's no chance for you to climb any economic or social ladder. So I think it's definitely going to be a much bigger poor working class. And those people are probably going to be poor working class all of their lives, working until they die, basically, because even the possibility of retiring for a lot of people, it doesn't even make sense anymore. It's not state pensions here in the UK. You can't live on them. So you know, it's a lifelong thing. It's going to affect people from generation to generation. It's not going to, plus countries are still reeling financially from COVID, which seems to have just been dismissed. Families are reeling from COVID and the loss of income that many families saw as a result of that, which never really got talked about as well. But I've heard through the baby bank from a lot of middle class people who, when they were working from home, they were on lower salaries, which is something that wasn't talked about because it's less hours, or those who were previously commuting and being given subsidies for commuting or anything like that. They lost all that because they were no longer commuting. People whose job roles would change, benefits packages would change because companies were put under financial strain as a, you know, loss of profits and everything, which then filtered down to staff. And that's seen in loads of sectors here in the UK. Even at the moment, we've got strikes, which are just crippling the country. We've got strikes in the legal field, meaning that cases in courts are being delayed by 9 months, 12 months. We've got strikes in trains, which is meaning people can't get to work and they're losing jobs or losing money. And strikes in buses, shortage of bus drivers because they've quit because there's not enough money, and fuel costs, and bus companies have reduced the routes because of the cost of fuel. So there's so much happening.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because now we see a lot of millennials, they are resigning from their jobs, and it's called the Great Resignation. I'm one of them. Because the cost of living, even to rent, it's very expensive now, and it's just that salary can't cover everything. So yeah, this is why everyone now they don't hesitate to resign and to find a higher paying job.
See, even speaking about resigning, Hala. A couple of months ago, there was this video that went viral in the UK about this single mom police officer who had to like confront the home office minister Priti Patel on this like on live on I think it was on a live debate. So it was a talk show or something like a conference show, and she stood up and was telling Priti Patel that the police of her wages is shameful that she had to like stretch herself so much because she earns just over 26 grand in a month, 26,000 pounds in a year. Yeah, and before her wages comes in, she needs to like. There was one occasion she had to go borrow money from her mom, and some of her subordinates go to what's it called? I've started visiting food banks. So you see how this thing is getting really, really. It's not just touching; it's actually touching everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, and for people who see, and I think it's a two-way thing because the government kind of wants you to work, and on the other hand, don't want you to work up like the benefit system kind of thing. So I don't know how to like actually articulate this, but it is gonna get even more crazier. for one source of
Okay.
income. You get crazier.
So let's take positive sides. I mean, a lot of people say in the recessions or when things happen like that, it's time to invest or to diversify incomes. What do you think, guys? Do you have any ideas where you can get more money or diversify your income?
I think it depends. I think this is where we're entering a time in life where people really need to take stock of what money means to them,
Hmm.
and where it stands in the order of things in their life, and actually how much do they really need to do what they're trying to do or to live the way they are living. I think a lot of people in the past chase money without really an understanding of why they were chasing it. I think it was a lot of it was about luxury, a lot of it was about status and materialism. And I'm not sure, sometimes being here in the UK and just which is one of the most advanced and developed and wealthiest countries, or has been for a long time, what the point was of all of that. What was it for? What was it? Was it necessary for so many people to own
Yes.
fancy homes and multiple cars and so many technologies in the home and have such big houses? You know, you've got people who are two people living in a 5-bedroom house. Why? Just as a status symbol. And then you've got families that have got 4 kids that are squeezed in an apartment with 2 rooms, which are perfectly happy and have been there for years. I think the reordering isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think also the inability for wealthy countries to afford to keep up that wealth, the US, Britain, and a lot of European countries, that constant chasing of wealth, the constant buying, the showing off what you've got on social media. I think a lot of that needed to stop anyway. And maybe this is one of the positive sides, is it is going to stop. We're going to stop being materialistic in the West as a result of this. And
Yes.
we're going to have to think about, like other people around the world have had to think about, in Lebanon, in lots of
Mm.
African countries, in Pakistan, in all these countries, should I pay money for my child to do a hobby so that they can develop themselves, or should I buy luxury food?
Mm.
That kind of question. Which is more important to me, which is more important to my family, to our goals and all of that. I think we're going to start doing that a lot more, and I think that's a good thing. I think checking your values and doing that in relation to money and having a plan and a goal and a system is going to be a good thing. But also the people around the world who have been good at that for a long time, African people, people who have lived on low income for a long time, but are still happy, raise amazing kids, successful kids, go on to contribute something amazing in the world, despite coming from a really simple background. Because we can't keep calling it poor, because they're not poor, clearly. They may be living simply because of low financial ability, but they're not poor by any means. They're spiritually rich, they're emotionally rich, they're well-being rich, they're community family support rich. And those are the people that are going to change the world, because they're going to say, well, hey, we've been living like this for a long time. Get it together. You know, you've got mental health because you've gone down from £5,000 a month to 2.
Yeah.
So what? We've been living on 500. You know? Get a grip. Do you know what I mean? I think that that's going to be a positive thing, definitely. And checking your values, talking more about values and how values make you rich, how family makes you rich, connections, love, support makes you rich. That's the conversation that's going to happen. So I think bring it on. You know, if that's what is needed to change the world and to get a balance, let's do that. I know who I'll be calling on when I'm struggling financially, and it'll be all the people that come from backgrounds who know how to survive. And actually, I know anyway, because I come from one of those backgrounds. I'm just being pedantic. I come from a basic poor background. I grew up in an inner city in a council. I grew up in a council house. Council houses means that your parents cannot afford to rent privately. My dad was a single parent. He was from Jamaica. He came here and he was an educated person, but he couldn't get a job. And so he struggled, self-employed, on and off of benefits, to raise 3 kids by himself. So I know what it is to grow up poor. We had no food in our cupboards, but we never went to bed hungry, because my dad concentrated on one meal at a time. He didn't concentrate on having a whole cart full of groceries that cost £150. He never did that. Not once do I remember my dad ever doing that. But I never went to bed hungry.
Yeah.
And I always had a clean school uniform, and I always had pens for school. I went to school with kids whose parents who had 2 cars, but they never had a pen, because to my dad, a pen was more important than a car.
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's all about values.
And that's why, I mean, it's out of topic. That's why you have a clear skin, because you were doing intermittent fasting.
No, you know why I have clear skin and why I look like this? Actually, because I don't buy products.
Okay.
I wash my face and put one cream on. I don't use 20 products on my face, and I don't buy makeup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I'm doing intermittent fasting, and I reduced my food consumption, and it has really done great things for my body and for my skin. And the less we consume stuff, the more we are content with what we have.
And you said that's the way we are going now due to recession. It's
I'm telling
intermittent
you,
fasting the way.
fasting is a good thing.
Yeah, sign me up, sign me up, sign me up.
I think life's been overcomplicated for a long time, and money's had a lot to do with it. And I think COVID helped a lot of people. It was a crisis, a global crisis, but so much good came out of it. If you sweep away the conspiracy theories and the fact that people died, which people die every day, it's a part of human life. And that's not undermining what happened to anyone who was affected by COVID. It's just a reality of human existence. But other than that, there were lots of benefits. People took stock of what really mattered in life, and the world was reordered. There was a great reset. Anyone who's still waiting for the great reset has happened already, because COVID has done it. And this is just the fallout from it. Lots of people do not want to go back to high-paying jobs anymore, because they spent so much time with their children, with their partners, with their loved ones, that they realized wasn't really worth it anyway. So, I live in an area actually where you see lots of people who live the van life. I live in the high peak area of the UK, and you see so many vans. It's unbelievable. And they're not just here on vacation. They are living like that. They're everywhere now. And those are people that have given up big careers. They've given up jobs. They've sold all their assets long before retirement age, and they've decided not to join back in the rat race. And they plan to live now off that 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, whatever it is that they got for the rest of their lives. And they've budgeted to do that. And they're living on £500 a month because they've seen that it can be done. They've traveled, they've been to Thailand, they've been to India, and they've learned that, you know what, it doesn't really matter if I don't have the latest things, So, yeah.
Yeah, things has changed. And I have listened to the podcast School of Greatness. They were talking about what's happening in the recession. And they said that in 2020, it was the biggest financial fraud in the history, because a lot of people, they were taking loans without any explanation. I mean, you can take any loan in 2020 and you can reinvest. And a lot of people, they were taking money in, and that's create a huge wealth for them, and they reinvested in it. And unemployment benefits, and people were not really working. And I think what you said, like, it happened when the pandemic hit. A lot of people use it as an advantage to rob banks. And I mean, it's good for them, right?
Yeah, it was legit. See, I just want to jump in there when Carla mentioned the Great Reset. See, the Great Reset has already happened, and we are in a different type of economy right now, or a different kind of era right now, where knowledge actually rules now. And you see people, everyday people, like, not just having a 9 to 5 anymore, which I'm a champion of, not just having a 9 to 5 anymore, but have many source of incomes, just many small source of income that are so diversified. If one source of income is actually paying your energy bill for the year, that is great. If another source is paying your water bill for the year, if another source is paying for your petrol, paying for your insurance, so those many ones, they're not coming. It's not coming down huge, but it is coming.
Yeah.
You get it is coming and it is coming regular. It is coming regular. So these are what people should actually. This is just part of the question, Hannah. This is
Mm.
what we should be actually looking into now.
Mm.
Fine, you need to like know your values, know how to like know what you want. Why do you need the money in the first place? Make a list. There's this book by Dan. No, not book. There's this in Dan Locke's book. FU Money. There's a list. There's a list there that I had to like download. Okay, now at first I was saying, "Oh, I need money. I need this. I need that." Okay, no, calm down. Write down everything that you actually need. You'll be so shocked that you don't need. Maybe you don't need £5,000 a month. Maybe you don't need £3,000 a month to
Yeah.
cover all your expenses
Mm.
and save as well.
Mm.
Okay, so those kind of things. When you actually get down, calm yourself down, write down what you want, and start to explore different ways. Be more creative on how to like attract more revenue into your system. I think that is what we should kind of be looking into when as this recession is going on, because whether you like it or not, recession is still going to be here. Inflation is still, it comes and it goes. It's just a yo-yo. It's still going to happen.
Yeah.
So the only way for me to like curb this is to like start creating or keep creating additional sources of income.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
interesting what you said. Go ahead, Carla.
I agree with Victor as well. I kind of missed that in my answer about the different sources of income. I think the days where you were one thing and you prided yourself, it was pride and ego. I am a doctor, I'm a this, I'm a that. And that became your defining thing about you. And that also brought money. Those days are gone for most people, unless you're whatever you're defining yourself as is adding value to the world. The world is not interested in it anymore. You're going to have to get a second or a third source of income. And I think connected to that and to what I was saying is we will also see the end of the individualistic style of living in a lot of countries, because actually if you want to survive here in the UK, you need to get your head together and be living with other people. You need to live, stay with your spouse.
Mhm.
You need to work together to bring in a joint income. If you've got three streams of income and your partner has got three streams of income, then you've got six, instead of you going away and having one and living an individualistic life and they're struggling with one and you're struggling with one. What's the point in that? And the same with children. And they've known this in other countries around the world for a long time. And that's why they live together in families. That's why they had 10 people living in a house. It wasn't just, you know, oh, they are living a tribal life or whatever. They had common sense. They knew that those who work together in a team achieve more than those who are individualistic. So I look forward to seeing the end of that, because I know growing up from the Western point of view, you're pushed to be independent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And individualistic, and
Yeah.
it isn't a good thing. And I know that being a single parent for most of my life, since I was a teenager, I've been a single parent since I was 17. And it's just not, it's the reason why you can't get ahead for a lot of people, because you're not working collectively with anyone else. And they're doing their thing and earning their money, and you're doing your thing and earning your money. But when you're taking a salary that from a job, one job, that's designed to support one individual and looking after 3 kids with it, doesn't go very far, does it?
Yeah. I think
So-
what you say, Carla, really makes sense regards living as a whole, because we saw this or we experienced this back in Africa. There's a tribe who are they're very, very industrious. They call them the Igbo tribes. So they perfected this apprenticeship scheme that is being studied in I think it was being studied right now in Harvard. This apprenticeship scheme. Now, when I came to England, and I found out that the Pakistanis, the Indians, the Asians, they're actually doing that. You see them in the house, mother, father, son, wife, son's wife, kids. My neighbor just in front of me here, there are like 7 or 8 in the house. I'm like, okay, so what's going on here? But in the morning, we all go to work. and come back in the evening.
Mm.
So imagine what is going on in that house. You might say, oh, the Western style will say, oh, there's no space. I need my own space. I need my own room. But at the end of the day, how do you get ahead with that?
Yeah.
Exactly. I've just put a banner actually on the screen of a statistic that I've also heard about through the baby bank. This is one of the reasons why we're seeing more and more people coming to the baby bank, middle class, upper class,
Wow.
mainly mothers, because the cost of nursery. Now, nursery is something that people pay for because they need to work.
Mm.
And mothers are putting their children, or the trend had been for the last 20 years or more in Western countries, of mothers returning to work at a much earlier age, so well before the child's first year, which we know from all data, all studies for the last 50 or more years is really bad for children's development. And you can invest any amount of government money in nurseries, it does not make up for the absence of the mother and the parents in the early years. But despite that, there's still been this huge drive to keep mothers in their careers and send them back to work as early as possible. And that's the cost financially. That's the average cost in the UK for a nursery. Now, if you go back to what I said earlier about the salaries, the average salary is probably around 28. Maybe I'm being generous there. Somewhere between 20 and 28, let's say. If you do calculations, if 7,000 of that goes on a nursery, and remember that's for one child, which most families don't have, they might have 2 or 3. And then you add to that the fuel bills, and then you add to that the rent. It's just not realistic, is it? Where is the other money coming from? So I think we probably will see the return of the traditional family as well. If you really want to survive, it's probably better that we go back to basics, and cancel out some of these additional costs, like £7,000 worth of nursery fees. It's just not worth it.
It's a lot of expenses to the state or to the country you're in. All of these kind of options that the government give to you, it's a lot of expenses to them.
Yeah.
And
but if you told, like Victor was saying, if you told that to someone in that tribe that he just mentioned, that people spend that for 25 hours, it's not even for a full-time nursery.
Wow.
They would say, why? Where's the granny? Where's the auntie?
Where's the granny?
Right? Yeah, where's granny? Where's auntie? And that's the culture that we've had for the last 30 or 40, 50 years in Western countries. There's no granny, because granny lives thousands of miles away because she's got her own individual life. She's pursuing her dreams, right? Granny is not granny because she's pursuing her individual dream. And now mom and dad are working their butt off thousands of miles away from any grandparents to pay for someone else to look after the kid. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Granny should, I subscribe to that. Granny should be there. So when she wants to go to work or when he wants to go to work, they substitute and they kind of just rotate it. I tell you what, in the past couple of weeks now, you see this bottle I'm holding? In the past couple of weeks now, my local shop used to have it. The first wave came, all the water in the shop, boom, gone. I brought another batch, boom, gone. And we had water shortage. In the whole of the high street, they can't get this bottle. It was £3 for the pack of 24. 1 week later, we got it back. Boom. It went to £4. They rushed it and they sold out. Okay. We started looking for these bottles of water we couldn't find. Now, guess what? We got them back on Saturday here, just a couple of days ago. And it's £4.60 now. You get it? So gradually, the average cart price in the supermarket is just like it's going up and it's going up, and I'm not seeing any way it's going to come back. So all we have to do is just start creating more.
And a lot of people, for example, they want remote jobs to relocate from the central cities like UK, Paris, New York. Everyone wants remote jobs to go somewhere in Asia and pay just 300, 400 the studio and stay there and just reduce the costs. And And the issue is, for example, if I talk about France, is the living cost is spiking and increasing, but they don't want to raise the salary. So there will be a huge problem of housing and I mean, just make day-to-day life, for example.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you mentioned that. You just brought back. We just brought back something I saw. I was reading some months ago about actually nurses and midwives are moving out of the UK.
Hmm.
Over 27,000 nurses and midwives quit last year,
Wow.
and they're moving out. So you see, it's not just people looking for remote work. It's affecting all sector.
Yeah.
All sectors being affected. So and they're still recruiting nurses from the Philippines and from Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica. They still, so I don't know, man. I hope I hope we get it right.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of opportunities for us to maybe change our way of thinking and our lifestyle, and we will be more creative, I guess, when we want to gain more money. I just want to shout out for the audience if they have any questions or they want to join the discussion. Please join the discussion. Hit us with comments and likes, and if you think that inflation is here to stay, we would love to have your comments in. Um, so, Carla, what do you think for the next upcoming month? How do you feel this is going?
Well, I think the trend will continue this way. I think that there's a definite shifting of power, financial power in the world. And I think that the developed countries or the Western countries, whatever you want to call them, will have to get used to this. It's here to stay. It's a reordering of things. And I don't think that it's unfair, honestly. It's inconvenient. Definitely, it's inconvenient. It means that we'll have to think differently. We're going to have to raise our kids differently. We're going to have to really dig deep and focus on character and how we get out of it in good ways. And I think that other countries around the world who have been stood on and crushed for a long time in order for us to do rubbish with the money that we have, really. Because, I mean, the evidence is there. We've used the money to overindulge. We've used privilege in the developed countries to overindulge, to show off, to make other people around the world suffer for no reason other than our own selfishness. So I think it's here to stay. And those people are the people that are going to thrive and see the opportunities, the ones who understand what's happening, and the ones who want to add value to the world will rise to the top. And they'll do it with small amounts of money or big amounts of money or whatever, because it's not about that. It's about their values. So I just think it's going to keep going this way. I think Europe and Britain and certain countries are heading into the energy crisis, like they said. And we're going to have to think about whether or not it's worth paying for fuel. If you don't need it, don't pay for it. Simple as that. If you're just wasting your electric, watching Netflix and drying your hair 5, 6, 7 times a week with a high-powered hairdryer, just don't pay. Switch it off. Like Victor said, get on a smart meter and just put it on when you need it. It's called a smart meter, and you can be smart about how you use it. Just don't use it. If you don't need a car, get rid of it. Don't stress yourself out just keeping hold of it just so that you can look like you're keeping up. Learn to walk. Cycle.
And that is interesting because, you know, in August, it's everyone goes to vacation in France. It's something like religiously they need to go on vacation. And when I go out, like it's very, I mean, no one is no one is going on vacation. A lot of people are here. No one left for vacation, and they said they can't afford it anymore. So a lot of them are just staying in Paris, which is, I mean, surprising for me. First time I see Parisian in Paris in the month of August.
Yeah, UK has had a huge Wales. The economy in Wales has grown this summer because everyone in Britain went to Wales on holiday because they're going abroad. Wales was full, was packed. The beaches in the UK were full and packed. because a lot of people didn't travel because it just wasn't worth it financially. So yeah, I think it's going to keep going like this, and it's here to stay for a while. Like Victor said, we're going into a recession in 2023 in the UK, so there's going to be more losses, more gains. I think certain people are going to hold the power keys over the next few years. I'm watching Africa personally because they've been surviving on a low income for a long time, but they've been doing amazing things with it. So yeah, I'm calling you, Victor, and you to call your family to tell me how to get through it.
Yeah, we've got to, but look at it this way: there'll be so many candlelight dinners taking place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, population increase perhaps next year.
Yeah, family candlelight with the kids and everyone instead of the lights to be on. You just light the candles, and solar panels. But in the winter months, who knows? Well, on a positive, I don't know if there's any positive I can like to see a way to spin this positively. Maybe it's time for us to start looking inwards. Yeah. Because the recession and the inflation is here to stay. Because it happens once or twice. I got my interest on my mortgage increased twice in a month.
Wow.
So you should just try to understand where this thing is going. Maybe we should just keep looking into ourselves and just redefine how to get things actually,
You need to start make Airbnbs, Victor.
Yeah. One of the kids is going to uni this September. So maybe if she washes this, I'm sorry, but your room is not going to be vacant.
The room is to let.
Your room is to let.
Okay. Well, I think we are at the end of our live session, and what I can, say, or I can understand from what we are talking about is if we have the right financial education, we can change our situation. And I think for the whole of our education system, we didn't been informed about what's happening around the world. We were taking stupid subjects and topics in school rather than bringing creative topics about financial education and how we can invest and just how we can understand how money works. A lot of us were just working from 9 to 5. I was working from 9 to 5 and I was not even caring about the taxes or the rate or the investment. And I think it's time to invest in yourself and give yourself the right financial education. Yeah. So please share, subscribe on YouTube and Facebook. I will be there from the next week on Monday. We're going to pursue this season with the investment inflation, maybe cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be interesting. So keep up with us and keep supporting us. And yes, I would like to reintroduce co-host again. Go ahead, Victor.
Oh yes, and you can find my podcast on all major platforms. Diaspora Entrepreneurs. It's gonna be interesting moving forward with my podcast.
Yes, we're looking forward to hear about your real estate journey and
definitely
your construction.
We're just taking it one step at a time. It's rainy season, so it's affected. We didn't plan for the rain, but it's just it's something that we are learning from.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Carla?
Yeah, my podcast is the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast. It will be back on Apple Podcasts and Spotify very soon. Like Victor, I think we all just took a break from podcasting recently and just recharge,
Yeah.
took stock of our lives, our values, everything. So yeah, watch this space for new things happening with my podcast as well. There's a new element being added to my podcast. And I'll give you a clue. It's connected to a V word, the word that I love.
Values.
Yes.
Hala, don't mention values, please.
So yeah, watch this space with my podcast. It's coming back and it's going to be better than ever. Back to you.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear it back with a lot of wisdom from you, Carla. So mine is Women Stories podcast. A lot of changes into it. There is a new episode coming up this week, so tune in. And yeah, keep up with us on Podcasters Unleashed. A lot of interesting stuff is going to happen this new season. New guests, maybe, and new topics as well. So thank you for being here. Bye.
Bye. Yeah.